Good morning, everyone. Happy Monday. Now we are in week 4, and one thing I want to go over before we begin talking about what today's video is about, I just wanted to say that your science STEM activities look great, and I'm in the process of grading them. So excellent job for not only completing it, but having fun at the same time. And I saw that in your pictures and your reflections. So great job. I'm going to continue doing that because I can see this is something that we enjoy. So I want to take a break from weeklies, and we're going to continue doing this. Now, last week was the first STEM activity. This week will be the second STEM activity. So there's going to be 3 options again. Remember to pick one option to do, and then once you're done with that activity, you take a picture or you write a 5-sentence reflection about how did it go, were there any challenges, did you have fun, who participated with you, what is something you would have done differently. That's what a reflection is like for those that need examples of what to write in your reflection if you don't want to take a picture. Okay. The next thing is Imagine Math. Make sure you're getting your 3 past lessons done each week. Okay. The other thing is multiplication division facts. Remember to be keeping up with them. Now, I know most of us are very confident in our facts, and that is great. I love that. Remember to continue practicing, though, because you don't want to slowly forget because you think, oh, I know it. I never need to practice anymore. No, remember to continue to practice in some kind of way. It doesn't have to be actual work on paper. You can be doing Imagine Math facts for a certain amount of time. You can be doing coloring squared, which is what I started before with the pictures, which I'm going to get back to, I promise. Or you can be doing online flashcards. I have online flashcards and several resources for multiplication division on my teacher page on your Clever account. So go ahead and check that out. Find some kind of resource to be practicing and reinforcing your multiplication division facts, okay? The next thing is, we are starting a new review today. Last week was topic 1 through 16. This week is topic 1 through 16 end of year assessment review, okay? So they're completely different, I promise. You're probably thinking, these look the same. We did topic 1 through 16 last week. You're doing this? No, it's completely different, I promise. I wouldn't give you the same thing twice. The last thing is, before we jump into things, we're gonna discuss some properties. So we're gonna refresh our memory on properties, like the community property. That's one property. We're gonna go back over all of the properties, and I'm gonna show you a flowchat video, and then we're gonna go all over page 1. I only wanted you to do page 1 today because I wanted you to have a somewhat of a break for Monday, because I wanted to start off light, especially refreshing our memory with properties, okay? So you're only gonna be doing page 1 today. I'm gonna start us off with properties first, and then we'll jump right into things, and you'll be on your way. Okay, let's get started. All right, let's get started here. So we're talking about our math properties for 3rd grade. So the first property I want to discuss is the community property. So the order of numbers can be changed and the answers will still be the same. So remember, we're just flipping those facts. So 3 plus 4 equals 7. 4 plus 3 equals 7. That's our addition example here. Our multiplication example, 3 times 4 equals 12. 4 times 3 equals 12, okay? All right. Now the next one, associative properties. So numbers can be grouped differently. Key words here, grouped differently, and the answers will still be the same. So in our addition property, or addition example, excuse me, not property, addition example here, we have 3 plus parentheses 4 plus 2 equals 9, okay? Now another way to say that is, remember, you're grouping it differently. So 3 plus 4 in parentheses plus 2 equals 9, okay? And then you have a multiplication example right underneath here. Now our next property is distributive property. A multiplier can be distributed across the equation without affecting the product. Now here you have an example for multiplication and addition. Now remember, there's one number that you keep the same, and there's one number that gets broken down into addition, okay? I know we remember distributive property, okay? I'm gonna move to some properties that we know off the top of our head, but we probably don't remember the name for it, okay? So identity addition property. So a number can keep its identity by adding 0. So 6 plus 1 equals 6 is an example. 7 plus 0 equals 7 is another example, all right? The next property, we have the 0 property. Any number multiplied by 0 is always 0, and we know this. So an example here, 6 times 0 equals 0, okay? 6 million times 0 equals 0, okay? Let's see, let's move to the identity multiplication property, okay? So a number can keep its identity by multiplying by 1. 6 times 1 equals 6. Another example might be 7 times 1 equals 7. Another example, 8 times 1 equals 8, okay? All right, and that is all of our 3rd grade math properties that I wanted to review with you guys. Now we're gonna watch a flowchat video on it, and then we're gonna jump right into our page 1 on topic 1 through 16 end of the year review, okay?
Commutative, associative, distributive, all three, math properties, yeah. Vocab, let's go. The first property is commutative. Your terms can move when you're the one computing them. If you reorder the terms when multiplying and adding, you get the same answer cause the order doesn't matter. 3 plus 5, written a different way, is 5 plus 3. They both equal 8. A plus B equals B plus A. And J times C equals C times J. Addition is not the only operation that works. We can also use multiplication, but this rule, it doesn't work with subtraction or division. With subtraction or division, stick with the order given. If you need a mnemonic, think about the root. Commutative comes from the word commute, yeah. The commutative properties, the one that allows us to write the numbers down, then move the numbers round. A commutative property in any order, you can add and multiply. Associative, you could group the terms any way you like. And now the last one, when you multiply a sum, you gotta break it up. That's distributive property, it's gotta be commutative, associative, distributive, all three. Math properties, it's what you need. It's what you need. It's what you need. Associative property means when you compute several numbers, you can put them into groups. For example, 2 plus 5 plus 3, add parentheses so you can see. Place 2 plus 5 in parentheses and then add 3 at the end. Now let's begin. 2 plus 5 equals 7, and when we add 3 plus 7, the sum is 10. If we bracket the two numbers at the end, the answer's still 10. If we do it again with multiplication, it works the same way, but division and subtraction, they can't hang. Commutative property in any order, you can add and multiply. Associative, you could group the terms any way you like. And now the last one, when you multiply a sum, you gotta break it up. That's distributive property, it's gotta be commutative, associative, distributive, all three. Math properties, it's what you need. It's what you need. It's what you need. This property is distributive, and when you can use it, it's limited. Yeah. When you multiply a sum, you can multiply each adding and then add the products up. Take the problem, 2 times 5 plus 3, and the 5 plus 3 is in parentheses. You can multiply the 2 times the 5, and then multiply the 2 by the 3. Alright, you get 10 plus 6, and that's 16. We distributed the 2 here. See what I mean? Here's a nice hint to make it easy to remember. To distribute means to give it to each member. Just remember, multiply each number in the bracket by the number outside. Add them up, then you have it. 8 times B plus C equals 8 times B plus A times C. See.
All right, so I hope you enjoyed that FlowCAD video refreshing us on properties. Now, we're gonna jump right into this. Remember, this is different because this week it is end of year assessment with topic 1 through 16 review, okay? All right, so number 1, it says, Mr. Buchero wrote 4 equations on the board. Which equation shows the associative property of multiplication? Now remember, the associative property, the definition for it is numbers can be grouped differently and the answers will still be the same. So typically we see 3 numbers and they're typically grouped differently with those parentheses, okay? So first things first, that's what we're looking for. So when we look at A, 9 times 2 equals parentheses 4 times 2 plus parentheses 5 times 2. Those are different numbers in there. So remember, it should be the same numbers equaling each other, just grouped differently, okay? Let's take a look at B. We have 9 parentheses 9 times 2 times 8 equals 9 times parentheses 2 times 8. All right? Now what we see is that these numbers are grouped differently, but we're using those same 3 numbers and they equal each other. So our answer for number 1 should be B. Number 2, it says the picture graph shows how many students wore school colors. On which day did 9 students wear school colors? Now, when we see something like this, a picture graph, the first thing that we're going to go down to is, you already guessed, the key. So when we look at the key and it tells us a whole shirt equals 2 students, that means for every whole shirt, we're going to skip count by 2s. And then it says each half shirt equals 1 student. So for every half shirt, we're going to skip count by 1s. Okay, so we're going to just add 1. Okay, So let's take a look to see on which day did 9 students wear school colors. So take a look at Monday. We have 2, 4, 6, and then that half equals 1, so plus 1 equals 7. So we know Monday is 7. Now let's go to Wednesday. Okay, so Wednesday we have 2, 4, 6, 8, and then we have a half, plus 8 plus 1 equals 9. So to answer the question on which day did 9 students wear school colors, our answer is B, Wednesday. Okay. Our next question, it says, draw an array to show this multiplication story. Samantha had 4 rows of photo albums on some shelves. She placed 3 albums in each row. Okay, so I'm going to flip my camera so you can see exactly what it should look like if you don't have it down on your paper at this time. Okay. All right, so once again, if we're drawing that multiplication array and it's telling us that Samantha has 4 rows of photo albums on some shelves, she placed 3 albums in each row. Okay, so my array would look like 4 going straight down, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, remember column times the row, and then I would have 3 going across. Okay, in this case, I would only have to add 2 because I already have 1 in the end. Okay, so that means I need to, when I have an array, remember you have to fill it out. So I'm going to fill it in. And that's what our array should look like. For 4 rows of photo albums, she placed 3 albums in each row. We know this, and we know if we're working a multiplication story here, and we're working with 4 rows of photo albums, and she placed 3 albums in each row, 3 times 4 equals 12, or 4 times 3, same thing, commutative property. We just went over properties, okay. So they both equal 12, so our answer is this, we're drawing this array right here, and then you should know the multiplication for this array that you drew, okay? All right, next question. All right, next question, number 4. It says, Jolanta is finding the sum of 377 plus 232 by breaking it into smaller problems. She uses place value and finds the sum of the hundreds, tens, and ones. What is the sum of the tens? Okay, so let me flip my camera here. I'm gonna check that out. All right, so when my question tells me that she uses place value to find the sum of the hundreds, tens, and ones, and to break it into smaller problems, we know exactly how to do this. Okay, so in this case, I've already done it. 377, we break that down into 377, okay? 232, 232. Now, if it says, what is the sum of the tens? What is the answer to the addition of the tens, okay? And we know this is the hundreds place right here, the 200 and the 300, and the 70 and the 30 represents the tens. So what is the answer when I add those together? Because sum means add those problems together. So 70 plus 30, we know equals, let me hold that up so I can, okay, there we go. 0 plus 0, okay, 7 plus 3 equals 10. Okay, so we know that our answer, our sum of the tens, which was the 70 and the 30, equals 100. So our answer should have been B, 100. All right, number 5 says, explain how you can use benchmark numbers to compare 5, 6, and 3/8, okay? Right, so with this problem right here, when we are comparing 5, 6, and 3/8, we know that 5, 6 is greater than 3/8, but it's important that we figure out ways to do that. Now, one strategy that I taught you to do is to draw 2 different number lines and give those equal lengths, and then compare the fractions in comparison as to where they are located on those number lines, okay? Now, that's one strategy. You could have drawn that 2 different number lines and then compared them from there, or you can just use logic, which is an example right here. So you know that 5, 6 would be greater than 1/2, okay? All right, and you know that 1/2 would be greater than 3/8. So that's that logic you can use to know that 5, 6 is greater than 3/8, okay? All right, number 6 says, Samantha marks 8s on a number line. She writes 7 8s just before 1. What fraction does she write on the first mark to the right of 1, okay? All right, so if it tells us that she marks 8s on a number line, that means I know that my denominator for all of the fractions on my number line will be an 8. Okay, so I will start with 0 and go from 1/8, 2/8, 3/8, 4/8, and then keep going, and my entire number line is in 8s. Now, if it tells me she writes 7 8s just before 1, I know that 7 8s is definitely located on the number line, so that's what I can draw my number line up into, label my number line up into. Okay, she writes 7 8s just before 1. That's what I did. All right, then it says, what fraction does she write on the first mark to the right of 1? Now, if we see that this number line is going in order with those fractions from 1/8, 2/8, 3/8, 4/8, 5/8, 6/8, 7/8, after 7/8, we know that whole would represent 8/8, our whole fraction, okay? Now, after 8/8, because it says, what fraction does she write on the first mark to the right? right is going towards this direction. The left is this way, the right is that way. So if it's asking us what does she write on the first mark to the right of 1, so the first mark after 1, what would she write? After 8/8 would be 9/8. You got it, all right? And that concludes our instruction for today. I only wanted you to do page 1 for today. If you did more, well done. I'm gonna play a FloCab video and I will see you guys later.
I feel smart, I feel good, I feel smart, I feel good. I know my math, man, I know my facts. I know my math, man, I know my facts. I feel smart, I feel good, I feel smart, I feel good. I know my math, man, I know my facts. I know my math, man, I know my facts. Man, it's so easy to multiply, cause I can multiply, son, and I can divide. Like if there's 5 people, each has 2 eyes, how many eyes in all we multiply?
Multiplying by 0 is easy, man, cause a number times 0 is 0, man. 5 times 0 is 0. 8 times 0 is 0. 10 times 0 is 0. Think of it like this: if you had 10 people and each person had 0 cats, how many cats would you have in all? 10 times 0, 0 cats.
I feel smart, I feel good, I feel smart, I feel good. I know my math, man, I know my facts. I know my math, man, I know my facts. I feel smart, I feel good, I feel smart, I feel good. I know my math, man, I know my facts. I know my math, man, I know my facts.
Yo, check. When you multiply by 1, you get the same number that you started from. So 7 times 1 is 7. 11 times 1 is 11. Yo, Tragic, do another one.
Like if 6 kids each had 1 baseball, how many balls would they have in all? We can figure it out. It's so quick, cause 6 times 1 is always 6.
If you wanna learn your facts, do what I did. Listen to a song and memorize it. Then open your eyelids, look at a number. Yeah, you can multiply and divide it. If you didn't hear it, just rewind it. This math here is fun, oh, it's not a virus. I could teach the times tables to a pirate. He says, I'm the multiplying pirate.
I feel smart, I feel good, I feel smart, I feel good. I know my math, man, I know my facts. I know my math, man, I know my facts. I feel smart, I feel good, I feel smart, I feel good. I know my math, man, I know my facts. I know my math, man, I know my facts. Ha.